Guru Maharaj will join us in a short time. Before he comes, I thought I'll just share some wonderful pastimes about Jayapataka Maharaj that has taken place in Australia and other places in this world. Now you all know Jayapataka Maharaj is a ferocious preacher. He's given up his life simply to spread the mission of Srila Prabhupada. The words of his Guru Maharaj is very dear to him, and he's taken it as his life and soul, just as his divine grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada took his Guru's words as his life and soul. Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur. So Guru Maharaj joined this. He was born in April 9, 1949 in, who knows? Where was he born?
Boston.
Milwaukee in Wisconsin. Now if you look at the state Wisconsin, the word Wisconsin has got ISKCON already inside of it. So Guru Maharaj used to joke, I was already born as being part of ISKCON. So he has to be, that's why he's preaching so vigorously in ISKCON. Now many things happened. He traveled a lot. Many stories he shared with us. Our past time he told me that in 1971 he wanted to go to India. And he went to Srila Prabhupada and he said that I'd like to go to India. And Prabhupada said okay. And he went to India and then he said to Prabhupada after a year, I think in late 1971, he said, Prabhupada, I'd like to stay in India. And Prabhupada said, he didn't say anything, he just listened to him. And he thought, he said, okay, tomorrow morning, he didn't say yes or no. He just said, tomorrow morning, I want you to go to Calcutta and post a letter. So Guru Maharaj said, oh, okay, post a letter, it's not a big job. It's easy, unless you're in India. So he said, okay. So post office opens at about 9 o'clock in the morning. So he left very early. Those days, no good roads. I think he got there by 7:30, 8 o'clock. He stood in front of the post office. Nobody was there. So he was hanging around. Now he doesn't know, for the first time he's seeing Indian culture at its best. 8:45, people ran out of nowhere to the front of the post office. And before he realized where he was standing, he has been pushed right to the back of the queue. Okay? 9 o'clock the post office opened. 9 o'clock it opened. He went, he had to wait in the queue. Took about an hour to get into the counter. Finally he got to the counter. He says, I want to post this letter. So the guy on the counter said, you need a stamp. No stamps here. That counter for stamp. So he looked back, there's a queue. A huge queue for stamps. So he had to go out from this counter and he went to the next counter. And he stood in line for 2 hours to get a stamp. Finally he got to the counter and he said, I want to buy a stamp for the letter. And the man said, I think 50 paisa or something like that. So he said, he gave him only a rupee note, or 5 rupee note he had. He said, no change. Change counter. And there was a big line for change. You have to give exact change. So you had to leave this counter and go to the other counter. And stood there for 2 hours. Finally he finished that counter. He got it. He got the change. He came to the first where the stamp is being sold. The guy put a sign, gone for lunch. Like this he went through the whole day. He got there at 8 o'clock in the morning. He finally bought a stamp at 4:30 in the evening. He spent the whole day in the post office. And then he got the stamp, he stuck on it, and he posted it. He came back in the evening and Srila Prabhupada asked him, did you post the letter? He said, yes. And Prabhupada smiled. How was it? He said, it took a whole day, but I didn't give up. And I bought the stamp and I posted it. Then Prabhupada said to him, now you can stay in India. He wanted him to understand that Indian system is not American style. Because if you had gone to the post office in Australia, nobody spends 8 hours in the post office, isn't it? But he had to do like that. So that's how Guru Maharaj stayed in India with the blessings of Srila Prabhupada. He understood how the system works. And Prabhupada wanted him to become an Indian citizen for a lot of varieties of reasons. He preached vigorously. Before stroke, some of you might have known him before the stroke days. He was a very enthusiastic preacher. After stroke, he is doubled up. He doesn't sleep much. He's always thinking of the devotees, the welfare of the devotees. And he's always thinking of how to preach Krishna consciousness to the rest of the world. Now I'll tell you a pastime that happened in Melbourne after the stroke. 2008 was the stroke. And 2009, because till 2008, Guru Maharaj was coming to Melbourne temple for Snana Yatra for almost 30 years. He's the only visiting sannyasi for 30 years to this temple for Snana Yatra. He never missed it. Now, after the stroke, he did not come. 2010, he came. The time I was in the altar, myself and His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Maharaj is also his disciple. So as you know, after Snana Yatra is over, we will take the deity upstairs. We take the deity from the altar and we take him upstairs to put him to rest because he catches a cold after having a bath. You know? So this pastime was taking place. So we brought the deity and Guru Maharaj, as you saw, in Melbourne temple in the courtyard. So we come out through the side and there are steps. So we're taking the deity. So I took Jagannath, myself and Bhaktivedanta Maharaj. So as we went to where the deity is going to be taken upstairs, so we turned, Guru Maharaj was sitting in the courtyard and we looked at him and Maharaj said, let's take the pointed. So I said, I want to take the deity because he can't come to the deity, he's in the wheelchair. So at that moment I was feeling very proud, this false pride of me, how great of a disciple I am, taking Jagannath to my Guru. Feeling so good. I took him down towards Guru Maharaj and Guru Maharaj touched the feet of the deities and he took the deities upstairs. Later on, because of this false pride, I wanted acknowledgement, how good of a disciple I am. So again I said to Guru Maharaj, wasn't it very nice that I brought Jagannath to you? No? Aren't you lucky that I brought Jagannath to you? So Guru Maharaj looked at me and he said, I was praying very intensely that what a fallen soul I am, that I can never touch you ever again, that I'll never be able to come in the altar and touch you ever again. And I was thinking like this and praying. At that time Jagannath came towards me. And then I looked at Guru Maharaj and then I realized my false pride was shattered. It wasn't me bringing Jagannath to Guru Maharaj, it was Jagannath going to Guru Maharaj through me. That's how it worked. And Guru Maharaj, I could see what a personality he was. When we were in Sydney one time, this is before stroke, and Guru Maharaj was lying in the hospital. He had some leg problems and he had a bacteria. He was admitted for a few days in the hospital. His legs was up and he was looking and he said, you see this material body will keep on breaking down. When you have good legs and good hands, chant and dance for Jagannath. Keep dancing as much as you can. When I'm sitting here like this and lying in my bed, I can realize that I cannot dance anymore. So all the limbs, Guru Maharaj will always say, as much as you can, use for Jagannath, use for Krishna. So like this, after the stroke, we've had, I went with him to South America last year. In the plane, in Lan, Chile, the air hostess became so touched at this personality. Because to take Guru Maharaj into the plane is not very easy. You need 4 people to lift him, carry him and take him inside. And when she saw there's a whole group of devotees are supporting him and taking and sitting, everybody, even this time, Qantas was so amazed. Qantas staff was just mesmerized. What do we call him? What do we call him? So I said, you call him His Holiness. His Holiness. has made Qantas very proud by traveling with us. We didn't choose the other end. So we're feeling very good. So the staff, one of the air hostess, she became so touched and she wanted to know about Guru Maharaj. He preached about him. He told who he is. He's the senior most leader in ISKCON today. He's the senior most sannyas leader in the Hare Krishna movement. And she was overtaken. She was overwhelmed with emotions. She said, I want blessings. And I want more than blessings. I want to accept him as my spiritual father. So she took, in the business class, Guru Maharaj is sitting in the aisle, there's other passengers. She sat there on the ground while the plane at 40,000 feet above ground. And she took shelter. So Guru Maharaj is given shelter in the air, on the ground, sunset, sunrise. He is given initiations in the hospital. He is even given initiations in prisons. Guru Maharaj is that merciful. He has given mercy anytime, anywhere, any place. There are no rules for him. That's Jayapataka Maharaj. Even though he is wheelchair bound, everything he does is well thought of. Why do we, even when he's giving out cookies, we are counting how many cookies he's giving. Because mentally he's chanting the Maha Mantra. That's how he chants. People are wondering, how does he chant? Many times devotees ask, how does he chant his rounds? Is he chanting his rounds? 16 rounds. Hare Krishna devotee is supposed to chant 16 rounds. He does more. I'll tell you right now, he does more than 16 rounds every day, without fail. When he's tapping, when he's walking, when he's cycling, everything he does is a Maha Mantra. So like that he keeps a track of his chanting. And he's always engaged in Prabhupada's service. So like this, there are many wonderful qualities about Guru Maharaj. And many things we can speak about Guru Maharaj. Anybody wants to know anything in particular? I'll open it up because I can tell you many stories, but I'm not sure what you would like to hear from me. Anybody has any questions about Guru Maharaj? Yes, Prabhu.
Please tell, the first meeting with His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. When Guru Maharaj met.
When Guru Maharaj met Prabhupada. Okay, Guru Maharaj was walking down the streets in San Francisco for the first time, and he heard the Hare Krishnas. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There was a kirtan, Harinam, going down the street, and he heard it for the first time. He was a young boy, 18 years of age, and he heard this, and he's like, what is this? This is something different, I've never heard this before. So he ran down the street to see the Hare Krishnas. And we saw the Hare Krishnas for the first time, he freaked out. He thought they were all haunted by ghosts. And he ran away. He ran away, and then he didn't. But that sound vibration, this Hare Krishna, was going on in his head. This is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. So he was thinking. And then the next time, he heard again in the streets. So second time he went, he stood by the corner of the road, by the buildings, and he was peeping. Who are these Hare Krishnas? And Guru Maharaj would always say, never did I know I'll become a sannyasi in this movement at that time. So then he got little bit interested. He wanted to know about them. They were practicing some bhakti yoga or something like that. Then he found out that there was going to be, there's a small temple in San Francisco. And he went to the place, he found the place, he went there. And that time it was Jayananda Prabhu. He walked in, the first devotee he met was His Grace Jayananda Prabhu, who is well known for building Rath carts, the Rath Yatra carts all over the world. He was very famous for them. So when he saw this young man walked in, and he said, oh, hi, how you doing? He said, I'm kind of interested. And then he asked him, what's your name? He said his name was Jay. His name was Jay. So he called him Bhakti Jay. Prabhupada always fondly called him Bhakti Jay. So he took initiation. And he said, Jayananda Prabhu said to him, do you know how to hammer a nail? said, oh, nail? And so he gave him a nail, gave him a hammer, and he said, here, hammer it in. And Guru Maharaj took the nail. That's the first service he did, was to the Jagannath cart. He nailed it in, nailed into the chariot. And Jayananda Prabhu looked at him and said, oh my God, I have never seen anybody nail it in like this. You are totally gifted. So Guru Maharaj will always say, the nail, nothing extraordinary. But because of that Jagannath cart, he became totally overwhelmed with Jagannath. And he spread this Jagannath Radha Yatra all over the world because of that. So then after that, a few days later, they attended the San Francisco Radha Yatra. Then Jayananda Prabhu told him that our spiritual leader would be here, Srila Prabhupada. Would you like to meet him? And he said, sure, why not? And then they made arrangements for him to meet Srila Prabhupada. And he went there, and Prabhupada was expert. That's what we do to devotees nowadays. It's a tradition we follow. First thing we do is feed them nicely. Plenty of prasadam. Isn't it? Hare Krishna means plenty of prasadam. Eat as much as you can. In fact, all your diet restrictions are gone out the door. True or not? So Prabhupada told, feed him. Feed, serve, serve, serve. And finally, Guru Maharaj says that he couldn't eat anymore. Then Prabhupada said, bring out the sweet rice. And when he brought the sweet rice, and he said, I can't eat anymore. He said, you cannot say no to sweet rice. There is this much gap between your mouth and your neck. It's full up to here, so there's still a gap. Fill it up with sweet rice. So Guru Maharaj always remembered that sweet rice was one of his favorite dishes long time ago. So that's how we met Srila Prabhupada. From then it began. Anybody else? Yes, Prabhu.
In the ICU, very seriously in Delhi, one of my friends, Mr. Sattulji, said that everyone from the doctor to the nurse to the security guard, they started chanting. So could you tell something about that or some similar?
Wherever Guru Maharaj goes, he transforms the place into a temple. It doesn't matter. He goes into a hospital, sooner or later that will become a temple for him. Everybody he meets, he will start preaching to them. So in Delhi, in ILBS, they were all very mesmerized. All the doctors, a lot of the doctors used to come before the shift and take blessings to start the shift, and then they'll come and ask for blessings when they finish the shift. So that started the trend with the doctors. Then the nurses also began, okay, this is good sign. Then one nurse came and said, my husband cannot stop drinking. He's a very good man, but alcohol is a little problem for him. So Guru Maharaj said, you take this clicker, you start chanting, and he gave blessing. A few days later he came back and he said, Maharaj Ji, I don't know what you did. He has given up alcohol. I have been praying to many gods, not working, but you is working. So like that, there was many spectacular things that took place. And the security guards, they were fighting for shifts to be in his room because they felt the potency, they felt that energy from Guru Maharaj a lot. Now Guru Maharaj went through a lot of austerities in the hospital, in ICU. And at that one point he said that he saw a world that was gold in color. And he saw a lot of his friends who were telling him to come, join me. But then he saw Srila Prabhupada who said, you go back and finish your unfinished business. So that's how he retained. But the place was like a holy dham. You walk through, our Hare Krishna devotees who walk through, from the nurse to the peon to the attendant, and Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And the Hare Krishna chanted all through the way. And that was also not very good for the devotees because the people were coming to see Guru Maharaj in the intensive care, and the security guards didn't know who to stop and who to allow. So they allowed everybody. So before you know, there were a few hundred people inside ICU.
then the doctors were getting upset because I see you. So that's how it works. Okay. Everybody else?
What were the major challenges Jayapataka Maharaj faced while serving the mission of Srila Prabhupada?
As you see, these challenges, as you know, nothing is worse than physical challenges. If you can't walk, you can't talk, the hands don't move properly, because of this stroke, half this body does not work very well. But when people ask Guru Maharaj, how do you preach in this condition, with this situation? People ask Guru Maharaj says, the first thing he says is, I'm okay, I'm still alive.
Krishna has given me the life to preach about Him. So, he never takes any physical challenges as a challenge. He always sees Krishna in everything. And he makes best out of it in any situation.
Maharaj ki
Jai His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj ki
Jaya Gurudeva
Generously, what Prabhu said, generously move forward.
Please move forward.
All the backs can go on the side.
Krishna Kastaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Devi Aradhani Bhatsarene Nidisai Satsanya Vasatya Dasata
Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Prajadine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Ashratya Shakarine.
Chaitanya Prabhupada Sri Advaita Gadadhara Gaurava Hare Krishna, So is everybody comfortable here?
Is everybody comfortable here?
I had a stroke in 2008,
I had a stroke in 2008.
so since half my face doesn't respond,
So since half my face doesn't respond,
my speech is not immediately understood.
my speech is not immediately understood.
So, Shyamadusam Das will repeat what I say.
So Shyam Madhusudan Das will repeat what I say.
As the co-minister for the community and congregational development,
As the co-minister for community and congregational development,
10 years ago or 20 years ago,
10 years ago or 20 years ago,
at the Prabhupada Centennial,
at the Prabhupada Centennial,
we introduced in ISKCON the Bhakti Vriksha system.
we introduced in ISKCON the Bhakti Vriksha system.
And previously we only had the Namhat.
Previously, we only had the Namhat.
So we saw that the Bhakti Vriksha was good for the urban families.
We saw that the Bhakti Vriksha was good for the urban families.
It was highly interactive,
And it was highly interactive,
and the mood of service was very high.
and the mood of service was very high.
Hearing your kirtan
Hearing your kirtan,
was very moving.
it was very moving.
The name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead
The name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead
and the Supreme Personality of Godhead
and the Supreme Personality of Godhead
are not different.
are not different.
And by chanting His name,
And by chanting His names,
you get immediately contact
you get immediately in contact
with Krishna.
with Krishna.
I see now that people are very absorbed in their smartphones.
I see now that people are very absorbed in their smartphones.
Walking,
They'll be walking, looking.
in fact, on YouTube,
In fact, on YouTube,
they show how some people are walking and they got smashed by bus, by cars.
they show how some people are walking and they got smashed by a bus or a car.
They didn't watch where they were going.
They didn't watch where they were going.
So everybody wants to stay in contact.
So everybody wants to stay in contact.
What if you have a hotline?
What if you had a hotline?
right to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Right to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
You do.
You do.
By chanting His holy name,
By chanting His holy names,
it reaches directly to Him.
it reaches directly to Him.
It doesn't cost anything.
It doesn't cost anything.
I think you all pay the subscription cost.
I think you all pay for subscription calls.
Subscription cost.
Subscription costs.
But chanting, no cost.
But chanting, no costs.
And no battery runs out.
And no battery runs out.
And if you advance,
And if you advance,
you download apps.
you can download apps.
They're called Bhakti apps.
They're called Bhakti apps.
So, I saw that the educated
So anyway, I saw that the educated
and the young grihastas,
and the young grihastas,
they have a very good scope.
they have a very good scope.
Side by side, while we're doing our material life, we do the spiritual life.
Side by side, while we're doing our material life, we do our spiritual life.
Don't leave it,
Don't leave it,
because it's very hard to switch gears in the old days.
because it's very hard to switch gears at the old age.
But if you are habituated to chanting, dancing, feasting,
But if you are habituated to chanting, dancing, and feasting,
serving,
and serving,
and then there's no switching.
then there's no switching.
Side by side, we do our work,
Side by side, we do our work,
we care for our responsibilities.
we care for our responsibilities.
Side by side, we want the best for our family,
And side by side, we want the best for our family.
want the best for our loved ones.
We want the best for our loved ones.
So we give them a Krishna consciousness.
So we give them Krishna consciousness.
One song
In one song
by Bhaktivedanta,
by Bhaktivinoda Thakur,
he's saying,
he was saying,
paraphrasing Lord Gauranga's message,
paraphrasing Lord Gauranga's message,
NHG of Swadhimaya,
Enechi Oshodhi Maya,
Nasibai Lagi,
Nashibare Lagi,
Harinama Mahamantra,
Harinam Mahamantra,
Lao Tumimagi.
Lao Tumi Magi.
I have brought the medicine to cure all the problems of Kali Yuga.
I've brought the medicine to cure all the problems of Kali Yuga.
I just take it,
You just take it.
whether begs for it, you can have it.
Whoever begs for it, you can have it.
So, Bhaktivedanta in the last verse he says,
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the last verse, he says,
Prabhu Charane Pariya,
Prabhu Charane Poriya,
I fall at the feet of the Lord,
I fall at the feet of the Lord,
I beg for the holy name.
and I beg for the holy name.
I got it!
And I got it.
I got it!
I got it.
I got it! How you go? Akati Vinada Sadhu Chare Padiya Hare Nama Manda Hare Prabhupada came to the Western world.
Prabhupada came to the Western world.
He came here to Melbourne,
He came here to Melbourne,
and he came to Sydney and Perth,
and he came to Sydney and Perth.
and he brought the message of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam,
And he brought the message of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam.
brought this Harinam,
Brought this Harinam.
and so he did all the preliminary work for us,
So he did all the preliminary work for us.
and he did give us the Harinam.
And he gave us the Harinam.
So we want all of you, some of you are already long-term chanters,
So some of you are already long-term chanters,
and some are new.
and some are new.
Keep on chanting.
But keep on chanting.
And this way, your life becomes perfect.
And in this way, your life becomes perfect.
Prabhupada Swami said,
Prabhupada Swami said,
how much happiness is available from the two syllables Krishna.
He said, how much happiness is available from the two syllables, Krish and Na.
Inconceivable.
It's inconceivable.
Most people think that spirituality means missing out on something.
Most people think that spirituality means missing out on something.
But we only ask people to avoid things which are really detrimental.
But we only ask people to avoid things that are really detrimental.
Gambling,
Gambling,
extramarital relations,
extramarital relations,
intoxication,
intoxication,
and killing animals.
and killing animals.
Actually, civilized person
Actually, any civilized person
shouldn't want to do these things.
shouldn't want to do these things.
We love it. So, restaurants make sure picture of a healthy cow.
We go to some of the restaurants and they show a picture of a happy cow,
As if the cow is happy to be killed.
except the cow is happy to be killed.
It's ridiculous.
You know, it's ridiculous.
Krishna speaks all languages.
Krishna speaks all languages.
He even speaks the animals language.
He even speaks the animals' language.
And he's known as Govinda, or the protector of the cows.
And he's known as Govinda, or the protector of the cows.
He lived at the Govardhan Hill
He lifted the Govardhan hill
to protect the cows.
to protect the cows.
And previously, Indra was called the protector of cows.
And previously, Indra was called the protector of the cows.
But that name was transferred to Krishna,
But that name was transferred to Krishna
because Indra acted against the cows,
because Indra acted against the cows.
and Krishna saved them.
And Krishna saved them.
So I particularly would like to meet all the Bhakti Vriksha members.
So I particularly would like to meet all the Bhakti Vriksha members.
And maybe here they can have talks on.
Maybe here they can have talks go on.
There's so much I meet the Bhakti Vriksha members
So I can meet the Bhakti Vriksha members
one by one,
one by one,
group by group.
group by group.
And I wanted to come for the Snan Yatra,
And I wanted to come for the Snan Yatra,
but I got sick in Perth,
but I got sick in Perth,
so I missed the Snan Yatra.
so I missed the Snan Yatra.
But by Krishna's arrangement, I could come here.
But by Krishna's arrangement, I could come here.
So, I was explaining yesterday
So I was explaining yesterday,
during the initiation,
during the initiation,
that we don't want, and taking initiation doesn't mean taking sannyas.
that taking initiation doesn't mean taking sannyas.
That we want husband and wife, families, to form teams,
That we want husband and wife, families, to form teams,
to spread the mercy of Lord Chaitanya.
to spread the mercy of Lord Chaitanya.
After Krishna comes,
After Krishna comes,
Krishna comes again sometimes,
Krishna comes again sometimes,
combined as with his spiritual potency.
combined with his spiritual potency.
He'd like to know
He'd like to know,
what is it that his devotees feel.
what is it that his devotees feel?
Because in Dwarka,
Because in Dwarka,
when he told him
Rukmini told him
that you are the Supreme Personality.
that you are the Supreme Personality.
You know what Brahma is doing in Satyaloka.
You know what Brahma is doing in Satyaloka.
You know what Shiva is doing in Kailash.
You know what Shiva is doing in Kailash.
You know what everybody is doing everywhere.
You know what everybody is doing everywhere.
But it seems there's one thing you don't know.
But it seems there's one thing that you don't know.
Who tells Krishna that there's something he doesn't know?
Now, who tells Krishna that there's something that he doesn't know?
He's supposed to know everything.
He's supposed to know everything.
I said, what's that?
He said, what's that?
And Rukmini said that Radharani knows.
And Rukmini said that Radharani knows.
I know.
I know,
And you don't know.
but you don't know.
Tell me what it is.
Tell me what it is.
You don't know
You don't know
how much your devotees love you,
how much your devotees love you,
and in what way they love you.
and in what way they love you.
So, to satisfy his wife and consorts,
So to satisfy his wife and consorts,
he took the mood of Radharani,
he took the mood of Radharani,
color,
the color,
Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahiyanna.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahayanna.
And he appears as his own devotee.
And he appears as his own devotee.
So, that way, his internal mission is to experience
So that way, his internal mission is to experience
the love of the devotees.
the love of the devotees
From the devotee point of view.
from the devotee point of view.
And externally,
And externally,
he does the Sankirtan movement,
he does the Sankirtan movement,
whereby chanting the holy names,
whereby chanting the holy names,
one can experience the supreme absolute pleasure.
one can experience the supreme absolute pleasure.